grab a glass and get out here. We're drinking Maker's 46 Cask Strength. Maker's 46 is always going to be a bottle that has a special place in my heart. That was the first whiskey that my older brother bought me after my 21st birthday. He got me a small, the half 375 milliliter bottle of the Maker's 46 back when it was in the more rounded bottle shape as opposed to the more square shape that they've standardized on now for all of their offerings. And that was, yeah, probably the highest quality whiskey I had had up until that point in my life. Actually, I'm quite confident it was. Unfortunately, at the time, my palate was not yet refined enough to really appreciate the nuance that Maker's 46, the standard Maker's 46 even, has. So it was a little too oaky, a little harsh to me. I believe Maker's 46 is right around 90 proof. And yeah, even that was a lot at that point in my life. So I wasn't super into it at first, but as I got through more of the bottle, it opened up. I got more used to it, and I really started to enjoy it. Now, I hadn't gone back to it for quite a while, but then the Maker's 46 Cask Strength, this bottle here, started being distributed in Wisconsin more regularly. It became more available. So I figured I'd go back, give it a try, especially now that I'm into the higher proofs. So I went for the Cask Strength as opposed to the standard, since that tends to be more my palate, especially at this point. So even the Maker's Cask Strength, when I first cracked it, I wasn't super impressed. I was hoping for a better overall profile. It was still kind of harsh, but then after letting it sit for a few weeks and coming back to it, I really got the smoothness, the extra flavors from the oak that were missing on the fresh crack. So let's get into the details now. This is Maker's Mark 46 Cask Strength, batch 2402. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey from Maker's Mark, obviously. The mash bill is 70% corn, 16% wheat, and 14% malted barley. It's non-age stated, but for a straight bourbon whiskey, that means it's at least 4 years old, could be a little bit older. Maker's Mark does rotate their barrels. So in their rick houses, they take the barrels that are at the bottom of the rick house, move them up higher, and the ones from the top move them down lower. So that does affect how it ages. It doesn't necessarily mean it means that it ages faster or anything like that, but it does change the aging profile compared to many other distilleries that just leave the barrels in one place in the rick house for the entirety or at least the majority of their aging. The proof is 110.8 proof or 55.4% alcohol by volume. It's finished with French oak staves. That's what the 46 indicates. Price-wise, I've seen it as low as about $60 if you get a really good deal, and as high as $75. I think $65 MSRP is a perfectly fair price for what you're getting here. Now let's get into it. On the nose, I'm getting a lot of honey, vanilla, artificial almond, like almond extract. There's some baking spices on there as well. Clove, cinnamon, a little bit of fruit, a tiny bit of apple, I think. which I do get apple on several weeded bourbons, so that wouldn't surprise me. That makes sense. Getting a couple more notes from the nose. Got a hint of chocolate in there, or more cocoa, not chocolate, not like a milk chocolate, but more dash of cocoa. And one beautiful thing is that these notes, the smells are really popping up out of the glass. Um, like even when I was just talking in the intro, as it was glass was sitting there, I was smelling it, and which is fantastic. And it was really nice smells that were coming off, not ethanol-y, anything like that. It's a very approachable nose, and it just comes up to greet you. You don't have to go down searching into the glass, you know, mashing your nose down in there to try and find something. It really is expressive. But back to the palate. Yeah, all the notes from the nose are carrying through, and it's really just that full experience with the honey, some caramels now toffee, some toffee notes in there. Maybe Heath Bar, the toffee, the chocolate. This is kind of like a Heath Bar. Um, there's some vanilla, little bit of, well, the oak. The oak is coming through beautifully. The finish is medium long at least, just gentle and full. There's a full presence to it. The mouthfeel is great. Really nice viscosity on this, which I find a lot with the lower proof, barrel proof whiskeys. Um, Maker's Mark uses a lower barrel entry proof compared to a lot of other distilleries, which I think really helps the mouthfeel. I noticed that with a lot of low barrel entry proof whiskeys, and we'll be talking about more of those in the future for sure. But moving on, why should you buy this whiskey? For one, it's a great upgrade over the standard Maker's Mark or the standard Maker's Mark 46. If you're if you've been drinking Maker's Mark for a long time and you're looking for an upgrade without going too far from home, this is the way to go. It's fantastic. And even at cask strength, like I said, it's only 110 proof. So I'm remembering now that the standard Maker's 46 is 94 proof. So you go from 94, you're only going up 16 proof points, which is not that crazy. That's really pretty doable without blowing out your palate. So that's a fantastic point to it. The sweetness and smoothness, I'll say it, smoothness that you're getting from the weeded mash bill is great. Um, and the French oak finish adds just that little extra uh, spice or barrel notes that balances the sweetness. The barrel rotation that they do at the Maker's Mark houses leads to a very consistent profile. So you know you're going to be getting a quality product every time. You don't need to worry about, oh, is this batch going to be good? Is that batch going to, not live up to the standard? It's going to be consistently very good. And it's really great for those who are into home blending. Maker's Mark 46 especially is goes into some of the blends that enthusiasts use to try to approximate Pappy. So there's different levels of poor man's Pappy and prudent Pappy and various different names for blends blending different whiskeys, trying to achieve a flavor profile like the Pappies. And Maker's 46 cask strength does feature in some of those. So it's very high quality. Why you wouldn't buy this bourbon is some people, the French oak finish can be off putting. depending on your palate, it's not for everyone. And it's a finish that's common enough that you can find out if you've tried other French oak finishes and you've not enjoyed those, maybe skip this one. Stick with just the Maker's Mark cask strength, the non 46 version. Some people just don't like wheated bourbons. Again, if you've had other wheated bourbons and you don't enjoy them, maybe go for something else. The price isn't the cheapest, 60, 65 bucks it's not like a budget bottle. It can be hard to find, and it's a good looking bottle, but not the sexiest on the shelf. It's not a Weller. That's what it's competing with. So if you have the chance to, you have this right next to a Weller Full Proof or something, and you magically are able to find that at MSRP, I would pay the little bit extra to get the Weller Full Proof. That's a dream. Going on to some alternatives. First off, I think a great alternative or something to try against it would be the Bardstown Origin High Wheat. So that's the tan label. Although I know Bardstown is changing their labels, so that might change a little bit. Bardstown Origin High Wheat has a higher wheat content. It's a little bit cheaper, around $45, and more available. It's also slightly lower proof, 106 proof. So it's a little bit lower proof, but it's not cask strength. So they are watering that down further from cask strength compared to Maker's Mark. So you're not going to get the same intense mouthfeel that Maker's Mark can provide. Another option would be Green River Wheated Full Proof. That's again a cheaper and more available product, and that is full proof. I think they're around 115 proof, so slightly higher proof, but still relatively low. That would be a really good alternative to the Maker's Mark. If you can find it, Weller 107, that's probably one of the most sought after wheated whiskeys in general, but especially most sought wheated bourbon at that price point, proof and price point, and it's fantastic if you can find it. It's just hard to find. Larceny Barrel Proof, if you're looking for something a little with more oomph, if you've been into barrel proof for quite a while, then the Larceny Barrel Proof batches some of them are really stellar, worth trying. And then on the budget end, to the extreme, not to the extreme, but further on the budget end would be the Penelope Wheated. That you can find for as cheap as mid to low $20. And it's a 4-grain bourbon, wheated bourbon, so it has a little bit of rye that adds a nice touch of complexity, a little more spice. It's not necessarily a sweet one note whiskey. So that's another option if you're just looking for the best wheated bourbon you can get for the least money. Probably, if the least money is a little more important to you, Penelope Wheated is the way to go. But thank you so much for listening. Cheers and go touch grass.